So welcome to today's 1 hour webinar on integrating wellness in substance use prevention, multi-risk behavior intervention. So I'm recording this session for you. I'll send everybody the link. Everyone who's listening today will also get a certificate for 1 hour CEU and a PDF of today's slides. So let's take a look at it. We've got a lot of slides to cover, a lot of content, really important information. From my perspective anyway, and let me see if we can get this going. There we go. 3 objectives for today's training session. So we're going to be explaining the need for and the benefits of integrating wellness promotion with substance use prevention. Or if you will, you could look at it the other way around, integrating substance use prevention with your health and wellness promotion. Second objective, we're going to look at describing a marketing-related conceptual model, that is the behavior image model. Some of you have already been introduced to it, I'm sure. And I'm going to give you 6 steps, I believe there's 6, maybe 7. I think it's 6 steps though, for creating your own integrated prevention plus wellness messages, campaigns, strategies, programs, whatever you want to deal with. I'm going to give you the model, the behavior image model. I'm going to give you the 6-7 steps for creating your own content if you want to. If you don't want to, that leads to objective number 6, where I will be showing with you, we'll explore together some evidence-based prevention plus wellness programs and resources. So those are the 3 objectives today. Let's start with the need for multi-health risk behavior strategies. In other words, let's talk about the benefits of integrating substance use prevention with wellness or wellness with substance use prevention. So to start out, let's take a look at high school adolescent substance use patterns. These are ever use, and this is the latest Youth Risk Behavior Survey data 2019. I'm sure many of you as prevention specialists, wellness specialists are familiar with these data. And so you can see that the most prevalently used substance continues to be alcohol, with 6 out of 10 high school adolescents throughout the country. Of course, you've got people from different nations, different islands, different countries, different parts of the world, maybe a little bit different than you're at. Likely, there's obviously differences, regional differences, national differences, but pretty much common throughout the nation, this particular sequence or trends. Alcohol most prevalent, that's followed by vaping, which has grown tremendously over the last several years, with over half of US high school adolescents having ever vaped. That's followed by marijuana, over 1/3 of US high school kids using marijuana, and that's followed then by cigarettes and opioids. So that's the percentage of ever using those substances. So we know that individual youth and groups of youth are at risk for these substances in this particular sequence, generally speaking. But some of you who are in the prevention area may not be aware that at the same time, these our individual youth and groups of youth, populations of youth, are also at risk for chronic disease factors. These are risk factors that will eventually increase the risk for young people to experience chronic disease like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, etc. So these data, also from Youth Risk Behavior Survey, most recent 2019, this is the percent of the behavior, again, high school adolescents throughout the United States. As you can see, even greater percentages of youth at risk, with 3 out of 4 young people getting less than 8 hours of sleep every night of the week. Some need 9, some need 10, and yet 3 out of 4 are not getting 8 hours throughout the week. More than 2 out of 3 having drank soda. We know soda is a problem in terms of very high calorie and sugar intake. If you look to the bottom, almost half are spending 3 or more hours on video games a day. That's a marker for indicator of a sedentary lifestyle, inactive lifestyle. And if you look up to that, it's amazing to me that 41%, almost 42% of youth are not even getting one fruit or vegetable a day, which is, again, sort of mind-boggling for me. Only a third ate breakfast, and less than a quarter are physically active. In other words, getting that 1 hour of physical activity every day of week. That's recommended by CDC, Centers for Disease Control, and other health and fitness agencies. So you can see youth are at risk for substance use, but they're also at risk for these other chronic diseases. There was a seminal study conducted in 2010 that showed over half of U.S. high school students are engaged in 2 or more risk behaviors. So we oftentimes think in terms of a risk behavior. Are you at risk for vaping? Are you at risk for alcohol use? Are kids at risk for being physically inactive? But the answer to those are really yes, all of those combined. This research study concluded that interventions at the clinical and community levels, I would add to that school levels, should target multiple risks, and that the interrelatedness of health risk behaviors should be addressed in our programs. In other words, how wellness behaviors interact with each other, and substance use, how substance use behaviors interact with other substance use and with wellness behaviors. A more recent study looking at the longitudinal patterns of adolescent health risk behaviors was conducted in 2016. And this study showed that multiple health risk behaviors were common among American adolescents. So it supported that earlier 2010 study. Of the 8 health behaviors that were examined in this study, only 4.2% of youth met all 8 health behavior guidelines. So very few were fully healthy. In addition, over 10% had greater than 5 risk factors by the age of just 16. So 1 in 10 had over 5 risk factors at the same time. In addition, this research found out that not eating fruit, vegetables, and breakfast, being overweight or obese, physically inactive, smoking, all of those individual risk factors predicted future other risk behaviors. So these researchers concluded prevention targeting multiple risk factors, multiple risk behaviors is very much needed for our young people. Now, if you don't believe that, let's take a look at the relationships between adolescent wellness behaviors and substance use. What is the relationship between healthy behaviors and substance use? Now, to look at this, because we don't have the time to look at all of the substance use risk measures, let's just look at ever marijuana use as one proxy measure. There are similar relationships, I would say, between adolescent risk behaviors and other measures of substance use, whether it's regular or current marijuana use, alcohol use, etc. So here I'm looking at the Centers for Disease Control, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey analysis tool. You can hop online. This is free to anybody, and you can do your own analyses. Again, high school adolescents throughout the country, and 2019, the most recent data. So what you can see here is, if you look to the far left, what we're looking at is did not watch 3 or more hours of TV by ever using marijuana. There's a statistically significant relationship here. And if you look to the far left, what you'll see here is that among those who didn't watch all that TV, about 36% reported ever using marijuana. And if you look to the right, you'll see that 41% of those who were watching 3 or more hours of TV ever used marijuana. So more TV, more marijuana use. Okay, here it is right here. See that relationship? 36%, if they're not watching a lot of TV, 36% ever use marijuana, 41% use marijuana of those who did watch TV. Statistically significant relationship. Okay, okay. Let's take a look at the next slide. Oh, I guess I have to log out of my little marking pen, which is too bad. I love that marking pen. All right, let's take a look at did not play 3 more hours of video games by ever using marijuana. So we just looked at television. Now let's look at playing 3 more hours of video games or not. And you can see same kind of relationships. Statistically significant. The far left, you'll see about 35% of those not playing so much video games reported having ever used marijuana. But those who were playing more video games, there was an increase of 39% of those who played more video games reported ever using marijuana. How about eating breakfast in the last 7 days? Here I want to highlight this because I think this is a really important one. So of those who ate breakfast, 27% reported using marijuana. Of those who didn't eat regular breakfast, quite a bit more, 41% reported marijuana. So you can see that there's this relationship, a positive relationship with healthy behaviors. I should say a negative relationship. Healthy behaviors go up, substance use risk goes down. That's a negative relationship. Here's drinking milk by ever using marijuana. 34% who drank milk reported marijuana use. 39% who didn't drink milk reported marijuana. Let's take a look at drinking soda. Same kind of a relationship. Not drinking soda, less marijuana use. Drinking soda, which is a unhealthy dietary behavior, more marijuana use. How about getting sleep? Very significant relationship here. Those who got 8 or more hours of sleep every day of the week, about 28% reported marijuana use. Almost 40% of those who aren't getting sleep reported marijuana use. So what can we conclude from these data that we just ran from the most recent youth risk behavior survey data? Well, we can see relationships between wellness behaviors, including indicators of physical activity by looking at screen time, both television and video games, nutrition measures, sleep measures were all associated with less likelihood of ever using marijuana among U.S. high school adolescents. So the conclusion that by targeting these wellness habits within prevention programs, strategies, and campaigns, you'll be able to perhaps improve not just substance use risk, but also improve the overall health of adolescents by integrating wellness with prevention. All right, so let's take a look at another, I'm going to clear this here. Let's take a look at some of you saying, well, that was interesting, but I'm not really sold on it. So let's take a look at some more data. Let's look at the relationship between adolescent wellness behaviors and not substance use this time, but mental health indicators. And we're going to use feeling sad or hopeless as a proxy measure for mental health. So what are the relationships between adolescent wellness behaviors and feeling sad or hopeless? So again, same thing, youth risk behavior survey data, all high school students across the nation, 2019, most recent behavior. So if you look at 60 minutes of physical activity, 5 days a week, you'll see that in the far left hand, those who get physical activity, 30% reported feeling sad or helpless, whereas those who aren't getting physical activity, quite a bit more, 42% reported this mental health issue of feeling sad or hopeless. So you see the relationship there. Let's take a look at some other relationships between wellness behaviors and feeling sad or hopeless. Here's a measure of did not watch 3 or more hours of TV. Left-hand column, 36% of those who didn't watch TV reported feeling sad or hopeless. Almost 41% of those who were watching more TV reported this indicator of mental health problems. Same with didn't play 3 or more hours of video games. 32% not playing video games, 43% playing video games reporting feeling sad or hopeless. So more wellness behaviors, the greater the wellness behaviors, the less indicator of a mental health problems. How about eating breakfast? Let me point this one out because I think this is a good one. Of those who ate breakfast, 25% reported feeling sad, hopeless. Of those who did eat breakfast regularly, almost 43% reported being sad or hopeless. So you can see that relationship is pretty much the same across all of these wellness behaviors that we're looking at. And drinking milk, same thing. 35% who drank milk felt sad, hopeless. 42% who didn't drink milk reported being sad or hopeless. Same with drinking soda, same kind of relationship. If you didn't drink soda, that's 33%. If you did drink soda, 39%. Greater percentage who drank soda also reported feeling sad or hopeless. And lastly, getting 8 or more hours of sleep, really important. Look at that. This is a very significant relationship. Less than a quarter of those who got regular sleep, at least 8 hours most days of the week, reported this feeling sad or hopeless, a measure of mental health problems. But those who aren't getting sleep, almost 41% reported feeling sad or hopeless. Now, on top of it, we ran these same associations we looked at the same associations, but instead of feeling sad or hopeless, we switched it out and looked at another measure of mental health problems, and that measure was seriously considering suicide. And what we found is these 7 wellness behaviors, 60 minutes of physical activity, not watching TV, not playing 3 more hours of video games, eating a breakfast, drinking milk, not drinking soda, getting 8 or more hours of sleep. Same relationship with those healthy behaviors, those wellness behaviors. And as those increase for those youth that had those wellness behaviors, less likely to experience seriously considering suicide. So 2 indicators. So what did we conclude? We concluded that wellness behaviors are associated with physical activity, nutrition, and sleep. Were also associated with less sadness and hopelessness, and less likely to seriously consider suicide among U.S. high school adolescents. So, targeting the promotion of health-enhancing behaviors, physical activity, nutrition, sleep, may improve not just the physical health, not just prevent substance use, but also improve mental health of participating adolescents. More data to support this is that we know that there are benefits, according to research, associated with healthy lifestyle, physical activity, getting plenty of sleep, eating nutritiously. If you look at that research, and there's a ton of it, you'll see that living a healthy lifestyle is associated with less depression and anxiety and unsafe sex, and also less alcohol, tobacco, and drug use. A healthy lifestyle is associated with improved physical and mental health and self-reported quality of life. So again, this research supports the analyses that we just ran. Healthy lifestyles associated with more positive self-image, self-esteem, self-regulation, self-confidence, etc., greater brain development and cognitive functioning, more opportunities to make friends and have fun, greater academic success. Yes, a healthy lifestyle is associated with greater academic success among young people, as measured by less school suspensions, greater school attendance, less likelihood to drop out, and more likely to enroll in and complete college. Lastly, as we had already mentioned, healthy lifestyles associated with less chronic disease, including heart disease, diabetes, and obesity, and stroke, and cancer, etc. Okay, healthy lifestyle, very important. So the indication is that addressing wellness can really enhance prevention, or addressing prevention can enhance health promotion or wellness. So what's the data in terms of the effectiveness of integrating multiple risk factors in programs, whether they're considered prevention or promotion programs? What do we know about them? Well, there was a review of studies, a review of interventions of studies back in 2014 that showed that integrating or providing multi-health behavior interventions rather than focusing on one risk factor like maybe e-cigarettes or alcohol or physical inactivity, but by linking some of these and addressing more than one, these interventions are feasible and more effective than single or discrete interventions. Then there was a review of research, a review of interventions in 2018 that indicated, that's the second block below, which indicated that universal school-based interventions that addressed multiple risk behaviors positively influenced or prevented tobacco use, alcohol use, illicit drug use, antisocial behavior, and improved physical activity. Lastly, there was a more recent review of interventions, studies of interventions, evaluations of interventions that showed that, and this was done in 2018, showed that decreased adolescent substance use was associated with one session multi-health behavior consultations as well as group sessions. And so these researchers concluded that recommended school-based interventions should target multiple health behaviors because they can be effective and efficient way to reduce substance use. So quite a bit of research. In fact, we just showed 3 reviews of studies of interventions of programs showing multi-health behavior interventions effective. So that's why we've adopted, we at Prevention Plus Wellness have created or adopted this kind of what do we call an integrative and interconnected model for promoting overall youth wellness. So let's take a look at this model for just a moment. So what we have in this model is in the left-hand side of the model, you've got here substance use prevention, and then below that, you've got health behavior promotion. So usually those are considered separate. They don't, usually people are engaged in substance use prevention or they're engaged in health behavior promotion. But what we're saying is, based on the research we just looked at, if you add these two things, if you link substance use prevention with health behavior promotion, or again, for those of you that are health professionals, add prevention to your promotion, we believe that according to the research we just looked at, will increase and improve your mental and physical health of your participants. So by adding substance use prevention with wellness promotion or vice versa, including those, in other words, addressing multiple risk behaviors, not just within substance use area, but within the wellness and vice versa, that is more likely to result in greater improved mental and physical health. And then when you have youth that have greater mental and physical health, that will likely have a reciprocal outcome on improving substance use and substance use prevention and health promotion. So that's what this model is. It's a reciprocal model. And again, the key to the model is linking prevention of risk factors, including substance use, with the promotion of wellness behaviors, which is likely to increase mental and physical well-being of participating youth and young adults, and I would say adults as well. All right, so let me clear that and move on to the next slide. So now let's take a look at a marketing model for creating prevention plus wellness content, strategies, programs, campaigns, whatever you want. So the model is a behavior image model. Some of you that have had our training before, program training, or some of our webinars are familiar with this model, the BIM. It's a marketing related model. It's designed to link the promotion of wellness behaviors with the prevention of substance use behaviors. For example, A, promoting physical activity while preventing alcohol use. That's a very concrete example. Or B, promoting racial justice while preventing racial discrimination. There's the wellness promotion with the substance use or risk behavior prevention. That's the behavior image model. There's 2 components to the behavior image model. Number 1 is you communicate positive aspects aspirational peer and future social images. These are values for young people, and that increases motivation for change. That's the motivational piece. That's the use of positive imagery to increase motivations. The second piece is the action piece. Setting multiple behavior goals will help initiate action and also increase self-control over time. So those are the two pieces. Positive images to increase motivation, multiple behavior goal setting to increase action, initiation, and self-regulation. So let's take a look at a simplified version of our behavior image logic model. We use the logic model to help understand, if you do this A, then the results are going to be B. So here's a simplified version. We have more complex versions of this on our website, preventionpluswellness.com. So notice you start at the top and then the arrows go down to each additional level. So you start by communicating behavior image. Notice those are linked. Behavior image messages which integrate wellness with risk behaviors like substance use. That's how you start. That's what you present as a teacher, as a professional, as a parent, as a youth leader, whatever. Then that's believed to cue unconscious, positive future peer social wellness images that youth and adults already have. Being more fit, active, successful, healthy, etc. Those are unconscious images and desires we all have. They're pretty much universal. That, at the next level, increases not only awareness of the images as values, but also as how substance use and other risk behaviors interfere. That increases motivation to set multiple health behavior goals. And lastly, you give your participating youth or young adults an opportunity to set and monitor goals. And this initiates behavior change and leads to increased self-regulation skills over time. So that's the sequence of this behavior image logic model that we're talking about. A little bit more about positive images. Why do we think that they're effective? Because there's evidence of their effectiveness theoretically, by research, and by practice. Number one, we know that there are multiple conceptual or theoretical models like possible selves theory, even Bandura's social norms. What is it? Bandura's theory. Whatever that theory is. Modeling, very important to learning, to decision making. So there are quite a few behavioral theories that emphasize images being very important to decision making by youth, by adults, and secondly, plenty of research that has supported images being influential in youth decision making, particularly in health decisions. So all you have to do is search for images and self-concept, prototype images, possible selves, positive identity. You'll find all of these areas of research. You'll see the role of image, and particularly positive image, in influencing young people to make health decisions. Thirdly, we do know that for decades, major marketing and advertising agencies and the world's largest companies have used and continue to use appealing images because they're effective in influencing purchasing decisions. So look to the left. Are we having blank yet? And you can see the very appealing young people, males, females, happy, laughing. You can see that setting. It brings back memories. It has a very powerful image. What is it that they're having? It could be a lot of things, fun, etc. You can fill in the blank, but very effective, up-to-date marketing advertising technique using positive, appealing images. It's unfortunate that public health, prevention, medicine is behind the importance of using positive imagery for influencing decision-making, influencing behavior itself. When we do use images, unfortunately, more often than not, they're negative. A needle in somebody's arm, a syringe in somebody's arm, a young person hugging a toilet bowl, throwing up. These are the kind of images. And the problem with those images is they're not as effective, and it also shuts down communications among some young people. Lastly, the focus on positive wellness habits is also very important. If you just focus on just risk behavior messages, those messages end up being less effective and less well received, particularly as young people grow through developmental periods. As they go from children to young adolescents to older adolescents and young adults, just focusing on negative images alone ends up being counterproductive and ineffective, maybe even having a boomerang effect and having a negative effect. That's why focusing on positive wellness behaviors, physical activity, nutrition, breakfast, sleep, stress control, very much more appealing to young people, to parents, to communities, to agencies, to funding organizations, etc. Now, how can you and your organization, here it is, six steps. I didn't know if it was 6 or 7. Here's 6 steps that you can use to create your own or develop your own integrated prevention plus wellness messages. So let's start with step number 1, which is to identify the risk and wellness habits that you want to target, you individually or your organization. So you're going to do 2 things in this step. First, you're going to have a list, and then you're going to prioritize the list, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want, of the substance use and other risk behaviors that you want to address within your population of youth or young adults or whatever your age group that you're working with. It could be alcohol as a risk factor, could be binge drink, could be vaping e-cigs, could be marijuana, could be opioid misuse, could be some other non-substance use risk factor. You identify them and then you prioritize them. Secondly, you're going to do the same, list and prioritize wellness behaviors you want to promote, maintain, or increase. This could include breakfast eating, nutrition, sleep, stress control, spiritual habits, racial justice, whatever. Okay, in other words, here's an example of how this looks. So in the left-hand column, you've got your risk behaviors, right-hand column, your wellness behaviors. As you can see in the left-hand column, I've got 3 priorities. The very first one is marijuana. That's followed by cigarettes, e-cigarettes, I should say, and alcohol use. So that's my listed priority for, and then you have your population. Could be, let's say, middle school students at my school. In the right hand, I'm going to focus on daily physical activity. Notice it's very specific. It's daily, not just physical activity, eating healthy breakfast, and 8 or more hours of sleep. So that's the priority. That's the list of healthy behaviors, and that's the priority. In other words, the number 1 risk priority for me with my target group is marijuana use. Number 1 wellness behavior is daily physical activity. So you can do the same thing. You can list and prioritize your risk behaviors and your wellness behaviors for your target group. That's step 1. Step 2, you're going to develop these integrated messages. These messages that are going to integrate prevention with wellness behaviors with substance use behaviors. Now, what you're doing here, or what you're attempting to do, is to trigger a mental picture of a healthy behavior within your population of youth, and then how your risk behavior or a specific substance use is harmful. So 2 parts to this. A, vivid image terms: fit, active, healthy, successful. Very, very powerful. These terms evoke an unconscious image of the person you're telling them to, of themselves in the future. Secondly, representative illustrations or models. So you can see to the right here in this picture, you've got a lot of, I would say maybe high school age, very, very healthy, happy, good looking young people, males, females, different ethnicities, etc. So that's what you're trying to do here: image terms and benefits and illustrations. So how do you link these messages? It's a 2-step process. First step, you identify the benefits and images, positive images associated with the wellness behavior. So here's an example. See the quote there: young people, there's your target group, who engage in regular physical activity, that's your wellness behavior, tend to feel energetic, sleep better, and look more active, fit, and confident. So your image terms, those very, very powerful, motivational, evocative image terms are underlined: energetic, active, fit. Who doesn't want to feel like that, to experience that, and who doesn't want that for their young people. And then there's also one non-image benefit, sleep better. So you've got that combination of image and other benefits of the wellness behavior. And then step two, you link how substance use harms that behavior and harms those images and benefits. Quote, marijuana use, there's your target risk behavior, can reduce your energy level needed to participate in regular exercise and achieve your fitness goals of being in shape, looking good, feeling fit and active. So they're a very simple linkage of how marijuana in this case could interfere, not just with regular physical activity, but the benefits that come with it. So here's an example of that. You can list in one column, which is shown to the left, the images and other benefits of your wellness behavior. That's PA, physical activity, high energy, fit, active, friendly. See, some of these are benefits, some of these are maybe a little bit more image related. High energy, if you say energetic, that's a little bit more image related. Then to the right, you're going to identify parallel barriers. In this case, in that marijuana, how marijuana is a barrier to each of these physical activity images and benefits. So, if you will, for example, you can see here, high energy or energetic is a benefit of physical activity, but here you can see how marijuana saps energy. So you can see that linkage, you're drawing that comparison. You're explaining how marijuana, here we go, marijuana here leads to less motivation for exercise, and it's going to harm the benefit of exercise, which is you feeling and being and looking more active. So you can see that relationship, that back and forth relationship. So that's an example of how you can draw those, link those messages. Third step, develop additional risk messages. You want to address not just messages about how your risk behavior, substance use interferes with your wellness behaviors, but we know other risk factors influence substance use. So do talk about how substance use is not only on the top rung there as a barrier to teach you your targeted health behaviors, but helps your fitness and health overall, causes life problems, particularly those things that are relevant to you, things that are not something that'll happen 30 years from now like cancer, but how that substance use can interfere with your friendships, which is very much more important to young people here and now than something in the future. Talk about myths. A lot of substances have myths associated with them. For example, marijuana, vaping have a lot of myths, like marijuana, because it's medical in your state, perhaps it's harmless. For example, that could be a myth. You want to address those myths that could give youth permission to use that substance. Most youth do not use that substance. Very important social norm messaging, healthy alternatives to that substance, and some others. Those are some other risk factors you could address. So for example, here's one message and slide, if you will, about a myth. You're trying to bust this myth or address this misconception that marijuana is harmless. Of course, it's quite the opposite, because it particularly regular or heavy use can really have a negative effect on brain and body and your lifestyle. Then you're going to create PowerPoint slides or some other media. I'm assuming you're developing a program, a media campaign, whatever. You need to have images. You need to have that be part of your communication. So here's a great image. And so you want to show representations. Here you got a young female, looks like playing soccer. So if you have females, if you have kids that are Caucasian, if you play soccer, that would be a good image for you to show. But then you have your content, your very, very brief information also in this slide. So you're showing these together. You're showing your image and you're showing your very important messages about how active life and alcohol don't mix. Here's another great image, a beautiful young African-American sleeping. What's the message? Alcohol, tobacco, drugs disrupt sound sleep and stop deep sleep. Notice it's a positive image, and yet you're showing how substances can interfere with high energy living. All of that really important in that message. So you want to show images, and primarily positive images, not negative images. Goal setting, very important. pledges, very important, all the same kind of a thing, to initiating behavior change. This is the initiation part. This is the increased self-regulation part of the behavior image model that we talked about. I'm just going to show you to the left there 6 components to the kinds of goal setting that we provide, that we use, that you might get some ideas about. Number 1, recommendations for wellness, very important. Not just to avoid substance use, but to increase these protective wellness behaviors. So presenting recommendations for your participants. Secondly, give them a chance to pledge to avoid alcohol, drugs, other risk behaviors. Thirdly, give them a chance to select a concrete, measurable behavior, wellness behavior to increase, and to write that as a goal. Very specific, measurable, attainable. You could use SMART goals. You could use any strategy you want, but you want them to write a goal to improve, something to improve, to increase a wellness behavior. Get a co-signature or get your participants to share their goal. That increases motivation for change, according to research. And then lastly, you want to provide them with congratulations, support, feedback, anything you can do to continue the goal setting process, which will over time increase their self-regulation skill, which young people so desperately lack. Step 6, and lastly, come up with some screening survey questions so that for your media campaign. So here's some screening survey questions that we use in our high school program, sports physical activities last year. We give them different kinds of activities they can check off. Regular physical activity in the last 30 days, or I should say 30 minutes or 60 minutes. A regular physical activity, yes or no. Eating a healthy breakfast every morning, yes, no. Sleep 8 hours or more, yes, no. Greatest number of alcoholic drinks from 0 to 5 or more. So it depends on those are just some examples. But the main thing is that what you're trying to do is under number 1. You use quizzes and you use these questions, and they're designed to increase reflection and awareness of personal health habits of your participating youth or young adults. So that's why we put it on the top of this review for you. So this is very important. You want to increase their awareness. What are my health habits? Then number 2, you can present them with some integrated substance use, wellness, behavior, benefits, barriers, messages, that 2-step messaging, positive image terms and illustrations, other substance use risk factor content, norms, dress myths, dress perceived harmfulness, dress healthy alternatives, goal setting or pledging to initiate that behavior change and increase self-control. And lastly, number 6, any opportunities you provide your youth with for engaging in wellness or any pro-social behavior, art, music, dance, anything other outside of substance use is a positive thing. Keep youth active and engaged and interacting with positive peers. Okay, so there it is. Now let's take a look at, where are we? Anyway, okay, we're doing good. Let's take a look at evidence-based programs and resources. In other words, prevention plus wellness, SBIs. And by SBI, I'm talking about screening and brief intervention. So here at Prevention Plus Wellness, we have a particular screening and brief intervention model. It's 3 steps. You can see it right here. Step number 1, you screen youth for the current youth or young adults or whoever your target population is. Screen them for the current health habits, not just substance use, but wellness behaviors, so that they increase awareness of their current health habits. Secondly, you provide feedback then on each of those health behaviors. You use a scripted manual, a script in a manual with your PowerPoint slides that shows you the images, that shows you the content. And this uses positive image terms and other benefits and shows how substance use is negatively influences those wellness behaviors. This is all designed to increase motivation. This is feedback. Typical screening, typical brief intervention or screening brief intervention, screen youth or young adults, provide feedback. That is motivational. And then thirdly, the action piece, you walk your participants through setting goals, not just avoiding substance use, but increasing protective wellness behaviors, giving them a chance to set goals, achievable goals, specific concrete goals, monitor their goals, and then reset goals in the future. This starts the process of initiating behavior change, and also over time, allowing them to develop these critical skills to shape their own behaviors. It could be health behaviors now. In the future, they could use that unique goal setting, that multiple behavior goal setting, to improve relationships, to be more successful on the job, to be more successful in school, etc. So that's the screening and brief intervention model used by Prevention Plus Wellness to integrate substance use prevention with wellness promotion. Why screening and brief intervention? Well, there's good research. In fact, there's a really powerful seminal review of research of brief interventions done in 2015 that showed that screening and brief interventions were effective for up to a year after they were implemented, both for adolescents and for young adults. We've conducted our own research and followed up on our single session Prevention Plus Wellness programs: Sport, Prevention Plus Wellness for youth; In Shape, Prevention Plus Wellness for young adults. These are alcohol-based interventions promoting protective wellness behaviors. And a year later, we still had some positive outcomes from those single session interventions. And then there was a reviewed article back in 2016 that said brief interventions hold great promise for expanding services and reaching a wide range of youth. Think about it. If you have a brief intervention, something that's so brief as a single session, you can really have a public health reach. You could reach all youth, or almost all youth, compared to trying to reach youth with a 6-session program or an 8-session or 12-session. So the briefer, the more practical and the more feasible, and the greater the reach. Lots of research supporting screening and brief interventions as evidence-based practice. SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, supports and has identified screening and brief intervention. In fact, they have their own model. SBIRT, screening, brief intervention, referral to treatment. CDC, or Centers for Disease Control, supports screening and brief interventions in primary care settings. The World Health Organization, or WHO, supports alcohol screening and brief interventions. NIAAA supports alcohol screening and brief interventions for youth. American Academy of Pediatrics supports SBIRT for youth. And NIDA, National Institute of Drug Abuse, supports adolescent substance use screening for screening and brief interventions. So here are what we have to offer for your, if you don't want to take the time to develop your own integrated Prevention Plus Wellness messages, these tools are available to you already ready to go. So these right here this is the SPORT, Alcohol Drug Prevention Plus Wellness Program. High school, middle school, elementary school version. Here it is. You're looking at a 2021 newly revised program manuals. What does SPORT include? Well, it's evidence-based. In other words, even though it uses an evidence-based practice screening brief intervention, SPORT program has had its own evaluation, research published, and then listed on evidence-based registries, found to be effective in preventing alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, increasing physical activity among general youth populations and high-risk substance-using youth. Targets physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, under 50 minutes, implemented with slides, can be implemented to youth one-on-one or in a group, in person or online. Also includes parent materials for weekly flyers. You get a digital download, you copy it to your computer, and then you can implement it to countless youth, nothing else to purchase. So it is a very cost-effective program to implement. The In Shape Alcohol Drug Prevention Plus Wellness Program is a parallel program for young adults. It's being used in college campuses, communities, U.S. military, and also evidence-based, found to prevent alcohol, cannabis use, including heavy alcohol and heavy cannabis use, drinking and driving, increases physical activity, sleep, health-related quality of life, and some effects even a year later, like sport. So very similar targets, alcohol, tobacco, physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, a little bit longer, maybe 60 minutes in length, implemented with slides. You have your manual, you have your digital download, you get implemented to countless young people. Then we have what we call our evidence-informed programs. Even though they're all using evidence-based practices, screening, brief intervention, these individual programs have yet to be evaluated. We've got a vaping PPW program. That's the e-cigarette prevention plus wellness program, marijuana PPW, opioid PPW. We've got a racial justice PPW because racial discrimination is a risk factor for youth substance use. And we've got, all of those are one session. All of our programs are one session, except for the Sport 2 program, which is actually a 6-session, prevention plus wellness program, screening and brief intervention. All right, they all have manuals, or most of them have manuals, digital download, very practical programs. We also have, for training, and I know a lot of you like training, we have weekly free webinars. We have 2-hour online program implementer trainings. We have 2-hour online train the trainer. And we also have, some people have been trained the trainer and they could offer on-site training. Normally, prior to COVID, we would go out, or I'd go out and do some training myself, but been staying here because of COVID. So the only on-site training you can get is if you've got somebody who's been trained as a trainer, and that can be done over 2 hours online from us. So what can we conclude from all these slides? And there were a lot of slides I showed you. So most U.S. adolescents experience multiple co-occurring risks for substance use and chronic disease, which influences their physical and mental health. I showed you today associations between health risks, including, I should say, I showed you associations between wellness behaviors and health risk outcomes, including substance use and mental health risk factors, which shows you these relationships among these behaviors. The behavior image model is a great model, and I gave you 6 steps for using the behavior image model to create your own prevention with wellness content, programs, strategies, campaigns, etc. But we also have evidence-based and evidence-informed prevention plus wellness programs existing. Take them off the shelf, already integrated, already screening and brief intervention is very practical, implemented in person or online to one youth or to groups of youth, and they're designed to improve not just physical health, but mental health. So here's our new website, preventionpluswellness.com. Go check it out because we've got free resources. Go in the left-hand corner here, you see those little 3 lines on top of each other, a little hamburger, whatever. That's a menu. You're probably familiar with that. You click on that menu, you'll find resources. Click on that and you'll see a bunch of free resources from Prevention Plus Wellness. You could also go to our website, preventionpluswellness.com. Enter your email and you'll get email listings for us for upcoming weekly webinars and other free stuff that we create. Preventionpluswellness.com. You can email us at info@preventionpluswellness.com, or our number here in St. Augustine, 904-472-5022. Thank you very much. Let me stop at this point and see if anybody has any questions. If you have any questions, type them in Q&A, type them in chat, and I'll answer them right now in the order that we could see them. So let me go to the chat. I'm going to expand this so we can see these questions. Okay, here we go. All right, let me just go back. So people had said hi. I missed the first part. Can I go back and listen to it and still get to see you? Yes, that's fine. I'll be sending you the PDF slides. I'll be sending you the link. So yes, that's not a problem. Will we have access to these slides? And can you post the links to the research in the chat? So what I'm going to do is, if you register for this, you'll get a PDF of the slides and you'll get a link to this recorded session. Can you direct me to your cannabis program information for teens? Maybe some statistics by state. So you can find out all of our programs on preventionpluswellness.com. You can see it on our website. We even have in our menu programs, if you want to go there, you can read about all the programs that we offer. In terms of statistics by state, well, one thing you could do very easily, you could just go to, as I was showing you today, you could just go to the CDC website and you could just click on marijuana and your state, and you could pull up the data for your state and marijuana and anything else you want to. You could run analyses if you want, marijuana by gender, by ethnicity, by whatever you want. Very, very powerful tool, that data tool that CDC offers for analyzing youth risk behavior survey data. Hi, Doc, is it possible to get the module via email? Yes. I'll be sending it to everybody who's registered. Are we getting the slides? Yes. Thank you for the information. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great, thank you. Great presentation. I'm motivated to be well. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. We all need that. That's for sure. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. And a lot of great thank you. So, and I thank you. I just want to make sure we have a couple more minutes. If you have another question, you have a comment, now is the last chance to do it. You can just type it in the chat before we say goodbye. Last chance. There's one more chat comment. Let's see what it is. Thank you. Thank you. So informative. All right. Thank you, guys. God bless you for all you do. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. Be well. If I could help at Prevention Plus Wellness, let us know. Go to our website, preventionpluswellness.com. Have a great afternoon, and thank you for making a difference in the lives of families and kids in your area. You're my prevention. You are my prevention hero. Again, you don't get enough credit for the amazing and remarkable work that you do. So thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today. All right, bye-bye, everyone.